Hi everybody, and welcome to today's video. I'm going to be talking to you today while I am working on a very big project for me. We have been cleaning up some of our food, and I am really downsizing my food and my food storage. Here we go. So let me try to explain this in a timeline so you can understand me a little better and understand what took place in my life. It all started a couple years ago when everything hit with the virus. I saw firsthand lots and lots of food that was being thrown into a dumpster that really was okay yet. In other words, it was past its prime, but it was being thrown away. So I contacted the food bank and I asked them, I said, any food that you feel is too old to give to your patrons or to give to the people that come for it, you throw that away, could I take it? And they were extremely happy because they had to pay per pound in the dumpster to get rid of this food. So that started my quest and my journey. I did a video for all of you about around the time that was happening, and it was called How to Get Free Food. Many of you decided to call your local pantries. Now let me emphasize this for a few of the people in the peanut gallery, that it was food that was thrown away. So they were putting it in the dumpster because they could not give it to the people. Different states have different laws. I'm just telling you what happened with me. So what happened was, every week I would go and get this food that they said they can no longer give to the people that come there. Now, different states don't have as much food, or they have more people than food, but in our state we have more food than people. So they would call and I would pick it up. I would take it to everyone I knew that would eat expired food, but then again there was quite a few people that would not eat expired food even though they needed food. It was a stigma. But what happened was, then they started talking to the warehouse where they get the food, and the warehouse was like, well, we've been throwing away a lot of food too. They would call me and say, we have food, and I would pick it up. So it started a vicious cycle with me because I didn't want to see it thrown away. I was handing it out. We were going by the van load, taking it to people. But then what happened was, I was getting so much. I started making videos on how to can this food and how to take food that was going to be thrown away, or contact your local place and see if they got food that was being thrown away. And so many of you have done that. But then it got to the point where I developed this situation where I didn't want to see any food thrown away. And it became an obsession with me. I'll be true and honest. It was an obsession with me because I knew they were throwing it away, and I kept thinking times are going to get really, really bad. Now, there goes with the whole survival and the prepping talk. Times will get bad, the food's gonna be gone, hurry, do it now, you know. And I fed into that. Well, I gotta do this. I spent so much time and energy, which it wasn't a bad thing because it was keeping me motivated. It's better than sitting around watching TV, eating chocolate bars, you know. So I was busy and working and teaching and showing everybody how to do all of these things, and it's amazing. But it got to the point where too much is too much. So I had to contact them and say, I'm sorry, I can no longer take the food. See if you can find someone else. I don't know if they did or didn't, but I stopped all of that to the biggest part of it. I stopped all that. Now, I still do get a few things. If they get something and they know it's something very unusual, and they can't get rid of it, then they will contact me. This is a case in point. About a year and a half or 2 years ago, they had bulk pectin. Well, they had it on their pantry shelves for the food bank for 6 months, and nobody wanted it because, then again, a lot of the people in the food banks in our area, they don't can, and they don't want to can. A lot of them are older people and they don't do any of that anymore. So they're like, we're gonna dump all of this. And by dumping it by pound, it was making a heavy, heavy dumpster load. So I took 25 pounds of the pectin, because they knew I like to can. So I do get a few things here and there, but I'm not getting the carloads of food. I don't have the room. And so I'm working hard, and it is so much work physically because I'm going through the food. We are thinking of ways to use it up, to eat it, and we are eating 98% of it. Did I throw any food away? I had to throw a few things away in the course of cleaning out my pantries. I'm not gonna lie to you. In the course of cleaning out my pantries, I did have to throw a few things away. But generally, we've been eating it, generally we've been consuming it, and I have very full pantries yet. So I have 2 very full pantries, but they're very clean, very organized, and I really like it. But I am slowly downsizing. Here's the problem with doomsday prepping. Here's the problem with, and they're still doing it. All these channels are still doing it, and they get thousands and thousands of views. I don't know when people are gonna wake up, and I don't want people are gonna understand that those get views. They're gonna keep doing it over and over again. Just don't let it get in your spirit. I know that things could get bad, and I know times are not good, and I know all of these things, but we don't know that there's not gonna be any food next year. I mean, how many years are they saying there's not gonna be any food? And there is food. Now, is the food like what we're used to? No. Is it, genetically modified? Yes. But just don't fall into the pitfall that I did and just start hoarding up all this food because you thought times are gonna get bad. My heart was in a good place. My heart was in an amazing place because I thought of my family, my grandchildren, I thought about my neighbors, I thought about everybody around me, that we're not gonna have food and I need to do all these things. I was the Mother Teresa of trying to find every lost apple, every lost pear, every lost tin can of food, because I didn't want to see it thrown away. And so here I am, and now I am working through all this, and it's like weight loss. You don't gain the weight overnight, and you surely aren't gonna conquer an issue overnight. But the thing is this, I'm getting older. The older I get, the less able energy-wise I'm going to be constantly doing all of these things, cleaning up and doing all of these things. I am simplifying my life. Am I going to be a minimalist? No way. I am not a minimalist. Am I going to take the load off of some of the things in my home to make it more airier, to make it more not so full? Absolutely. So I'm doing all kinds of things, and you're going to be seeing that in videos, but I'm doing it in a conscious way, and I realize now, okay, I was not a hoarder, but the feeling of you got to save everything from being in the landfill is a hoarder's mentality. In other words, the hoarder of dolls, if you like dolls and you think, oh, this doll needs a house and a home, I'm gonna collect this doll and put it in there. That's fine when you have 5 or 6 or 7, but then when you get 30 and 40 of them, same with my cookbooks. I would see these cookbooks and think, oh, these cookbooks need a nice place to call home. And I would rescue these cookbooks, which is great in itself, but it gets to be extreme. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So I'm not saying I'm not gonna collect cookbooks, and I'm not saying I'm not gonna collect food, but you gotta tone it down and know when you reach that line, when you cross that line. And for me, I crossed the line. Grief can do a lot of things to people. And I'm not going to sit here and say to all of you, oh, it's my mom and daddy's fault because they're not living anymore. That's not it. But grief can change the chemistry of your brain. When you go through grief, when you go through menopause, when you go through life-changing events, you can become a little bit unfocused on things that you should be focused on. And that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that, because that's a part of grieving. We're human. So in my grieving process, was I a little bit not thinking maybe the best? Probably. Do I have some deficiencies in my life from little on up? Probably, because we all do. We all have something in our lives that are a deficiency. There's no one perfect. You know, there's quite a few people that want to say they're perfect, but they're not. And so we just work through this, and I'm working through it. And I am being very bold and vulnerable, and I am being very honest, and I am saying things that some people wouldn't say, because they would just show you, oh, look, I did all of this, and wouldn't show you the process of it. But in the process is the healing. In the process is the teaching. In the process is the moment. And how am I going to teach people and share them my lessons and things that I'm learning with me if I don't show them the steps in doing that? I would love to just get on here and say to all of you, hey, we ate all of our food and guess what? It looks like this now, and miraculously do that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching me clean up my home one day at a time. And I can't wait because there's more to come, and it's just lessons that I have learned. And I thank you all of you who have given me an ear and the time to just listen to me and help me, because I know I'm not alone, and I know that a lot of us go through times where we get obsessive about certain things, but then there's a time that we can learn. If we don't ever make mistakes, we never learn. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I made lots of mistakes. I have made mistakes, many mistakes, but I'm learning through them. And I'm trying to become a better person because of it. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.